All right, guys, which want to welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here with 2023 preview and prediction for the Purdue Boilermakers. One of the coaching staff, Jeff Brom out. Ryan Walters, past 2 years as Illinois' defensive coordinator, is the lead man. Graham Harrell spent 22 as the West Virginia offensive coordinator. He's bounced around over the past couple of seasons. He'll be taking over that side of the ball, while Kelvin Kane, last 2 seasons as Illinois' outside linebacking coach. The Boilermakers, they established a culture under Brom. They were known as a tough out each week. Handful of upsets during his tenure. The biggest thing is, will that be able to remain? Look at the offensive side of the ball. Graham Harrell's going to have his hands full just a little bit. Obviously the scheme they had before was a pass-heavy pro-style offense. They're going to transition to a bit of the air raid here. And Hudson Card, they look at what they did in the portal. Lost 13 guys, added 7. Card is one of them. Flashes good accuracy, possesses an NFL arm, has shown good zip to the middle of the field. Good accuracy, especially in that short area range. Has some good vision and can make plays out of the pocket. I think his ball placement has certainly been nice at times. A 6'2", 201. Obviously, Nick, this is a team over the last couple of years is able to be, productive through the air. Hasn't exactly led to great success, at least this past season. They did make the conference championship game, but they should have been putting up a lot more points per contest, and now they enter a bit of a scheme change here. What do you think Hudson Card provides for this team after spending the past couple seasons in Austin with the Longhorns?
Certainly interesting seeing this team transition under a new offense with Graham Harrell. Of course, Harrell, the hero for Texas Tech in 2008, part of that amazing team that competed for a national championship and fell just short in the Big 12. Spent the last couple of seasons in Oklahoma or West Virginia, and now here he is here in Purdue with Hudson Card as quarterback. I think Card's a very underrated quarterback. Got a lot of hate for his time, but he possesses an NFL arm. Very talented player. We saw it in the games. I think the limited appearances past season, he played against Alabama, looked good in that game as a backup for Quinn Ewers. If he went down with injury, looked good in the other limited appearance as well. So I think Card has a lot of nice potential, good ball placement, good accuracy, 6'2", 201. I think he's a good quarterback to have. It is going to be a tough transition, right, to an air raid from a heavy, pro-style offense. Interesting to see if they can make that transition comfortably. But I think Card's a good stopgap quarterback here.
You look at the receiving core, though, the biggest concerns, they don't have many options. DJ Sheffield, a veteran that can play inside or out. I think he's certainly going to be a great player, at least in terms of fantasy, if you play that style. I think he's certainly catches a lot of passes this year. Has a go-to target, 5'11", 190. Marshawn Rice, 6'2", 205, enters his third year. Not much returning production after that. Tyrone Tracy appears to be converting the running back. He was the Iowa transfer from a season ago. Jamal Edrine, 6'3", 210. Had some admirable protection for FAU. He was the only add at the skilled positions. Brock Thompson, he retired. I was always a fan of his. Unfortunately, he hung the cleats up a couple months ago. Elijah Canyon transferred in from Auburn last year, 6'4", 220. Didn't play at all. Deion Burks caught a few passes last season. The scheme will be tough to run early on with limited proven commodities, but this certainly allows for a lot of guys to earn playing time and some production, Nick. So I'm not ultra concerned, even though they don't have much depth here. But the air raid, they're going to go 4 or 5 wide, and you're going to quickly find out who's capable and who's not.
I agree. I think this is a unit that has some pieces that are solid, but not enough depth overall. TJ Sheffield's a good player, top returning pass catcher with 480 yards receiving, 10.4 yards per catch, 4 scores for him. Marshawn Rice, 283 yards, 12.3 yards per catch, and 1 score for him. Tyrone Tracy being converted, kind of moved around, but he's a good player. Deion Burks, a few catches. He had 150 yards receiving plus 9.9 yards per catch. So I think there's some decent unit pieces here. A lot of question marks about what Tracy's going to be, whether he be a running back, wide receiver. Overall, this unit does have some talented pieces, but not enough depth, in my opinion.
Of course, the running game was never really a focal point for Jeff Brom and his offense. 3.6 yards per carry, 121 yards per game. They certainly had a more so committed to the game approach last year on the ground. Devin McCogbie, a freshman who was just recently put on scholarship after a 968-yard, 9-touchdown season. He's going to be a big asset for this offense. I think they're going to look to get very well. Gets upfield with authority, really good in the short area, accelerates well out of his cuts, physical, upright running style, has good intensity to him, has no issues laying the boom. I like what he provides. The running game's got to be more involved, Nick, and I think the offensive line certainly going to play a big part in that. Look at Marcus Mabeau, 6'5", 305, has great athleticism and length, was a really polished player that didn't allow a sack last fall, mainly at right guard. Likely going to get slotted over to tackle this year. Gus Hartwig was phenomenal at center before a late season injury knocked him out. Real nice in pass protection. Daniel Johnson, 6'5", 305, was a solid performer at right tackle. Mamani Musa was a big liability at left tackle for them, so his role remains undetermined. Jalen Grant was an average player for Bowling Green. Plenty of experience at left guard and center, though. Probably going to be the left guard this season, but flexibility is important. Ben Farrell, he transfers in to compete for time, again, at left tackle. Preston Nichols from UNLV. He was before that, he was at Charleston Southern. He's been an elite pass blocker in his career, can play left guard or left tackle. And then 6'5", 330, another guard from Missouri, and Luke Griffin. Some nice flexibility and experience on this offensive line, Nick. I know I just hit you with a lot of information. They're less than stellar last year, but I'd certainly land on this unit to step up if need be. Spencer Holstitch, he ends up transferring out to UCLA. He was probably their best lineman a season ago. A lot of moving pieces here, but I like what Walters and Graham Harrell did. They went out and tried to improve this side of the ball.
I like Maccabee. He's a good running back with nearly 1,000 yards on the ground, 968 to be exact, 5 yards per carry, 9 scores for him, 274 yards receiving as well on 32 grabs, 8.6 yards per catch. So he can be involved as a pass catching threat as well, which adds that layer. They did a lot of work with the offensive line. Jalen Grant's a great piece to add. Ben Farrell, another piece. Luke Griffin, another piece to add. They've had a lot of great pieces. Gus Hartwig, good at center, good solid player to have there. Daniel Johnson, right tackle, another good piece. A lot of different options on this offensive line, kind of moving pieces. You plug in who you need to plug in. I think it's good. This is a solid offensive line for a pretty, solid average offensive unit.
I still think the wide receiver depth is going to be a bit of a concern. I'm going to go with a B unit for me. Last year, they really didn't produce that much. Less than 400 yards, just slightly. Under 27 points per game. That was good for 75th in college football. In the running game, even though they're marching in the right direction, it still was 103rd nationally, so you have to take that into consideration. B for me, what's your assumption of this offense? It certainly has some interesting pieces in Card, Maccabee, and then guys like Sheffield and the FAU transfer in Erdine.
I think it is a B average offense, just an average offense for the Big Ten. There is some serious talent. I like this offensive line. These guys can block. Maccabee is a very good running back who has a nice potential to break out. I think Card's a steady stopgap quarterback to plug and play here. I worry about the wide receiver depth, like you said, and I want to see how the schematic change is going to work out for this team.
We had an offensive side of the ball. This is a unit that really wasn't all that bad the past 2 years. 53rd in yards per game, pretty solid against the run. They lose 11 players in the portal at 8. They return only 4 starters. 3 of the top 5 tacklers are back. Biggest news for them, Crichton Jenkins. He appears to be moving to outside linebacker with this bit of a schematic change here on this side of the ball also. He's been stout on the defensive line for them over the past 2 seasons. Joe Anderson wasn't good in his 5 games. A handful of transfers will occupy the defensive end positions. Jeffrey Mabah from Auburn barely saw the field last year. Big body player, 6'6", 313. Malik Langham, some good experience for Vanderbilt, but wasn't all that good. Isaiah Nichols played a good bit over the past 5 years at Arkansas. Wasn't really effective, but he's also 6'3", 315. Really beefing up the trenches here. Cole Brevard figures to be a sturdy nose, 6'3", 315. Thought he was a respectable player in the middle. DeMar G. Lewis, 6'3", 300. That was not good in 2021. He's back this season. Mo Adabi was really good at holding up gaps. Pretty suitable at the nose. I think they have some nice size here and some established depth, Nick. Production needs to be found, though, because they've not really had much of a pass rush the past couple of seasons. And Ryan Walters knows that. Illinois last year, one of the nation's best defensive lines coming into this season due to some of the work he's did on that side of the ball.
Yeah, this is a good unit that needs to find a way to get production. They really struggled to get that production. There are some solid pieces here. I like the ads they have. Jeffrey Mabah from Auburn is a very good player on the left edge, so I think he's a very talented piece to have. You really can't go wrong when you got a guy coming over from the SEC, Cole Brevard. Very limited appearance. He had 10 total tackles for him and limited snaps. He'll be in that nose tackle interior spot for him. Malik Langham, good experience at Vandy, but just wasn't a very great player there, but he has the potential. Isaiah Nichols coming over from Arkansas. Keandre Jenkins as well is moving to outside linebacker, but he was very solid for them. He had 32 total tackles, 8 tackles lost, 4 sacks. The production will still certainly be with him, although he moves to outside linebacker. Overall, there are some nice pieces here. I think these guys have some good experience, and they made some nice work in the portal and added some solid pieces, but they're going to have to find a way to get after the quarterback and really add that production.
You look at the 4 of the 3-4 OC brothers. He's going to anchor the inside linebacking position at 6'2", 225. Yanni Karlaftis only had a few tackles last year, but they're expecting him to get on the field a good bit. Jeans with his brother George, just winning a Super Bowl in his rookie season with the Chiefs. An opportunity to get on the field, and I think he'll certainly shine. Nick Carraway, his good blend of speed and physicality, certainly a big-time addition there. Clyde Washington played about 150 snaps last season. But an efficient tackler, not much else, though. Kador Snyder, a strength for the outside linebacking group. He was a good freshman. Scotty Humfick was on the field a good bit himself. And, of course, Crichton Jenkins, the best player on this defense, I'd say, can help beef up this outside linebacking group. I'd say overall they're pretty happy with what they have in the middle, Nick. You have some veterans here, and I think Snyder and Jenkins are going to be, a very formidable duo when it comes to getting after the passer. What are your thoughts on this part of the unit?
OC Brothers is a good player, 42 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss at 1 sack each. Not too bad numbers from him. I think he has potential to step up. Good player, Clyde Washington, limited appearances, but he had 14 total tackles. Another player that has potential to step up. They added some depth in the portal. There were some solid pieces. They moved Jenkins around. I think that's a solid move for him. I like to see him be involved there. He can get a lot of tackles this year playing on that outside linebacker role.
Now you look at the secondary. It's a bit of a revamp back end. Salim Turner Muhammad comes in from Stanford. Marquise Wilson was an above-average player for Penn State. Braxton Myers, a freshman who arrives from Ole Miss. Jamari Brown, the only familiar face outside at corner. He's been years. I do think the senior safety duo of Cam Allen, Sonora Z. Kane will certainly be a saving grace for them. Allen has showcased great ball skills over his career, but was an awful tackler last season. 25 missed tackles, need to be better. Kane was more than a willing run defender. He led the team in tackles, needs to showcase some more intensity and coverage. They also added another freshman transfer, Anthony Brown. Bit of a mixed bag in the secondary for Ryan Walters over at Illinois. They produced some great defensive backs. DB coach Aaron Henry, he stayed at Illinois, and I think he was a big factor in that. We'll see long term if that really plays into anything here in the secondary. But it's something to note, Nick, is the Illinois past couple seasons they really started to turn out some talent, and they also had some great, amazing ball hawks there. Potentially, we could see that being a staple of this program as well.
Certainly, Illinois has been producing some great pieces from the secondary. Jamari Brown, solid piece at times, 15 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 picks, 3 pass breakups. Cam Allen, great player, good in coverage, 3 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, 49 total tackles for him. Sazi Kane, 72 total tackles, your top returning tackler for this team, top tackler overall last year. 4.5 tackles for loss plus 1 sack, 3 pass breakups for him. So I think this is a secondary that has some nice production potential, very talented players overall. I do like the numbers I see out of the secondary, and it rounds off what is not a terrible defense by Big Ten standards.
Yeah, they allowed a lot of big plays through the secondary, though. 48 20-plus yard passing plays, 106th nationally. B unit for me. B's on both sides of the ball. I think it's appropriate, Nick. I definitely like some of the pieces they have on this side of the ball. The guys on screen, labeled. I think those guys are all going to be big-time impact performers for him this year. That's 5 guys I think you can count on for Ryan Walters in his debut season. I think this is certainly going to be an interesting unit. In terms of numbers, I don't have an expectation or really an assumption. Obviously, changing schemes is tough. This unit wasn't all that bad. Points per game number, I think that might trend down a little bit. No real expectation, though, Nick. I think this is just going to be another average unit. It's going to piggyback off what the offense does.
I think this is an average unit, just like the offense is. There is some nice production here. There's some solid pieces. Jenkins brothers, Kane, all very good players. Cam Allen, a good player as well, with nice hard-hitting tackles, good interceptions, nice ball-hawking player there. Average defense, but this is just a very average team. That's the way it is with Purdue. They're going through a transition here. It's just going to be a very average team, a very mid-Big Ten team.
Look at the schedule preview and prediction. This Purdue team isn't all that bad. I have faith in the O-line. I like Hudson Card. I think a fresh start will benefit him. Nice back in the Cogby. Wide receiver group, certainly the biggest unit I have an issue with on offense, but it's the air raid after all. Guys will certainly step up and they'll find some production. Defense changes from a 4-2-5 to a 3-4. Man, it's a pretty significant change, Nick. It's going to be a big change, matter of fact, and I think it'll hurt them often this year. They won't be awful by any means, but a slight fallback is expected. Still a deadly team, but Brown's magic is no more of his departure. The schedule is incredibly tough, and again, I really don't have major expectations for the defense in terms of being much worse or much better, but I definitely think the schematic change is going to hurt them in some crucial moments. Maybe games against Virginia Tech, a talented receiving core. Maybe they have some for Ohio State when they come to town. Michigan as well. Just overall, I think the schematic change is certainly going to hurt them in crucial moments of these games. It's going to cause them to lose them. I don't think they're going to get blown out that often this year. I think they'll compete in most of these games and it should certainly be in a bowl game potentially. I just don't see it this year. 4-8 for me. I think it's going to be a tough season overall. So I think you can say the same thing about the offense, that some of these changes will certainly affect them in moments that might be really big. So tough year for Purdue overall. Be interesting to see what happens long term. Not a bad football team, though, at the end of the day.
Certainly is going to be a tough year overall. This is a team that has some potential. I think this is a good team. Schematic change is not helping them. They're playing in a tough conference, tough schedule, certainly road trips to Michigan, Nebraska, Iowa, Virginia Tech, all very tough games to play on the road. They also play Northwestern on the road, but that's kind of a gimme. I think they're heading in the right direction potentially. I think that is interesting kind of put together. They put together this coaching staff very late in the season after they lost Jeff Brom. I think it's interesting to see where this team is going. I think they're a very average team right now, but they've beaten some power teams over the past couple seasons. Like you said, they were a tough out on any given Saturday under Jeff Brom. If they're able to continue that, they can certainly build the backbones of a solid program.
That's me for this episode. Appreciate you joining me, Nick, once again.
Absolutely. Interested to see this direction that this goes under a new coaching staff here at Purdue.
Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.